In 1922, the world was captivated by the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century, the tomb of the ancient Egyptian Pharaoh Tutankhamun, located in the Valley of the Kings. The tomb, untouched for over 3,000 years, was filled with treasures, mummies, and artifacts that had once belonged to one of Egypt's most famous rulers, despite his relatively short reign and early death. However, shortly after the discovery, strange and tragic events began to occur, events that lead to the creation of what became known as the Curse of the Pharaohs. Those who entered Tutankhamun's tomb seemed to fall victim to an ancient curse, leading to mysterious deaths and inexplicable accidents. This curse, whether real or a coincidence, would become the focal point of public fascination, and even to this day, many believe the tomb still holds deadly secrets. The story begins with Howard Carter, a determined English archaeologist who has spent years searching for Tutankhamun's tomb. Unlike many other Egyptologists, Carter was convinced that there was something hidden in the Valley of the Kings, a tomb still waiting to be uncovered. He had been unsuccessful in previous attempts, but in 1922, the financial support from Lord Carnarvon, a wealthy British aristocrat, gave him the resources to continue his search. After months of digging, Carter finally finds the entrance to a tomb that had been sealed for millennia. The discovery was like no other. The tomb of Tutankhamun, a relatively unknown and obscure pharaoh, was untouched by grave robbers. The tomb's layout and treasures were unlike anything found before. Inside the tomb, Carter and his team find an extraordinary array of treasures, golden statues, intricate jewelry, beautiful frescoes, and the famed golden mask of Tutankhamun. They begin cataloging the wealth of artifacts, and every discovery seems more incredible than the last. It is an archaeologist's dream come true. The tomb is nearly untouched, suggesting that the pharaoh had been laid to rest without the usual plundering by tomb raiders. However, strange omens begin to appear. As the work continues, some members of the excavation team report hearing whispers in the dark corridors of the tomb, and a sense of foreboding fills the air. Yet Carter remains determined, focused on the prize before him. As Carter and Lord Carnarvon move forward with the excavation, they uncover a hidden inscription on the wall of the tomb. It reads, "Death shall come on swift wings to those who disturb the peace of the pharaoh." Though Carter initially dismisses it as a mere superstition, Carnarvon, who is sensitive to the idea of curses, begins to feel uneasy. He jokes about it to the press, but the ominous warning hangs in the air. Soon after the discovery of the tomb, Lord Carnarvon himself becomes the first casualty. In April 1923, while in Cairo, Carnarvon is bitten by a mosquito. The bite becomes infected, and he succumbs to an unexpected and rapid illness. News of his death spreads, and many see it as the first sign that the curse has been activated. The press begins to sensationalize the idea of the curse of the pharaohs. As the years go by, a string of unexplained deaths and misfortunes follows, each linked to those involved in the excavation. The tragedy surrounding Carnarvon's death becomes a focal point in the media, with rumors circulating that the curse had indeed claimed its first victim. George Gould, an American millionaire who had been a visitor at the tomb's opening, suddenly dies of an infection just days after entering the tomb. His untimely death raises eyebrows. Then, the mysterious deaths continue. Sir Bruce Ingram, a close friend of Carter's, suffers the tragic death of his wife and son, both of whom die in strange circumstances shortly after the tomb's discovery. Sir Alan Gardiner, another Egyptologist involved in the excavation, loses his life in a tragic and unexplained accident. His death, like the others, seems random and unconnected, yet the pattern is hard to ignore. As each death occurs, the whispers of a curse grow louder. Many start to believe that Tutankhamun's tomb has exacted its revenge on those who dared to disturb the pharaoh's final resting place. Howard Carter, the man who made the discovery, is not immune to the growing myth of the curse. Though he remains untouched by the events, his health begins to deteriorate. He suffers from unexplained illnesses, and his mental state becomes increasingly frail. He starts to wonder whether the curse is real or merely a product of his own mounting pressure. The toll of the excavation, the mounting debts, and the strain of public scrutiny slowly take their toll on Carter's health and spirit. As the debts mount, the public becomes obsessed with the idea of the curse. Newspapers around the world sensationalize the story, and conspiracy theories begin to flourish. Some claim that Tutankhamun's high priests placed a magical protection on the tomb to keep it from being disturbed. Others believe that the curse was a warning to anyone who would dare to touch the sacred objects of Egypt's pharaohs. The idea that the tomb is cursed becomes ingrained in popular culture. Historians and scientists begin to investigate the so-called curse. Could there be a scientific explanation for the strange deaths? Was it simply a series of coincidences, or did the tomb's ancient environment harbor deadly diseases? Some researchers suggest that mold, bacteria, or toxic gases trapped in the sealed tomb could have caused illness among those who entered. Despite the deaths, the tomb's treasures continue to be studied and displayed around the world. Tutankhamun's legacy as a young king who died mysteriously continues to fascinate scholars. New technologies such as CT scans and DNA analysis shed light on Tutankhamun's life and death, revealing that he likely suffered from numerous health problems and may have been murdered or died from a botched medical procedure. Carter, who survives the wave of deaths surrounding the tomb, finally leaves Egypt in 1932, disillusioned and broken by the years of ill fortune that followed his great discovery. In the years following the discovery, the myth of Tutankhamun's curse continues to captivate the public. Some say it lives on in the mysterious deaths of people connected to the excavation, while others argue that the entire story is just a legend spun from superstition and sensationalism. Even as new generations of archaeologists and Egyptologists continue to study the tomb and its treasures, the story of Tutankhamun's curse remains an enduring mystery, a tale of ancient power, human ambition, and the eerie coincidences that tie the past to the present. Some experts argue that the tomb may have been sealed with a poisonous gas or substance that could have caused illnesses in those who entered. This would explain the cluster of deaths soon after the discovery. Others suggest that the curse was merely a psychological phenomenon, an example of mass hysteria or the power of suggestion. As the deaths began to mount, more people believed in the curse, which led to even more tragedy. Finally, some believe that the curse is a manifestation of Tutankhamun's tragic life and early death. As one of the youngest pharaohs, his death was a mystery that may have led to later generations projecting their own fears and stories onto the tomb.